I'm Jennifer Della Quadri, and this is Subtle Shifts, the podcast where you'll learn how to transform your life from the inside out, one small, meaningful shift at a time. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. I was recently invited to be a guest on my friend Darlynn Childress's podcast, Become a Calm Mama. This is the third time, I think, maybe fourth, that I've been on her podcast. But this time she wanted me to come on to talk about my recent shift in business and the shifts that have happened in my life, because our audiences overlap in so many ways. So she's speaking to parents, I'm speaking to parents. Many of the people in our audiences are women in midlife. And the things that I've been talking about really resonated with her. And she's like, come onto my show and share about your experiences. And so I did. And it really went beyond just me sharing my experience. The two of us really talked about this concept of the cocoon phase of life and how it shows up multiple times. So here we are in midlife. Many of us are in the cocoon phase or the call phase, where we're feeling like we want to make a shift, but we don't really know what that might look like, and we might be hesitant. But we talk about this cocoon phase and how when we reflect back on our life, we can really think of many times where we felt a call and we've gone into the cocoon and we've really had a shift in our life. And so this time it is no different. It feels different though, because we're older and we've had more experiences. We have kids now, we have careers. There's a lot more that seems like might be writing on the outcome. But we have this shared experience that we've gone through these things over and over. So we talk about our personal experiences throughout life and what it's like now in midlife. She has two children who are now no longer in the home. She is now an on-call mom, and I am also soon to be. I have my youngest graduating just next month. And so we talk about this kind of transitional phase that can come in parenting. Even if your kids aren't graduating, maybe they're younger, there's definitely a big transformation or a transition that happens when they go from being a child to being a preteen, to being a teenager. They need you for different things. They need you less, but they need you more. And you're really left wondering, what the heck is next for me? So we talk about this in this episode, and it was so good that I really wanted to share it with you. So we dive in just kind of with a conversation, general friendship conversation, and it rolls into everything that I just mentioned. And it's a really fun topic that I know a lot of you will really resonate with. So let's go ahead and dive into my conversation with Darlynn Childress.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, I'm gonna set up my mic.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I need to do that too.
It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too.
It's been a while.
I know. Gotta put all my stuff to the side. How was your mammogram?
Got my mammy, got my little boobies all checked out.
Excellent. I like your pictures. Those are new. I haven't seen those.
You have. You're just noticing them. I feel like after getting a mammogram, and I also did some blood work, I was like, I am a champion. Like I wondered if other people felt that way when you do like the things you're supposed to do in life.
Yeah.
I get like a little kick out of that. I'm like, I'm good at taking care of myself.
Look at me. I'm on top of stuff.
Yeah. And also on top of stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not like
Okay.
I've always been good about keeping on top of stuff for the kids.
Sure.
But maybe not so much for myself.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a very normal thing.
It is, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kind of like what I wanted to talk about in some ways, because it's very interesting, this midlife stage. And I don't even know what midlife is. I mean, I've raised my children, right? This is for me. I'm at that stage where I got him to 18, like
Right?
yesterday, my youngest one turned 19 yesterday. Lincoln turns 21 soon. I'm like, yeah, okay, I did the thing.
Yeah. I know.
And
Like I said before, yeah, you graduated. Like you should have a graduation party too when your kid turns 18.
yeah, or a retirement party, but then people didn't like that idea because they're like, you're never retire from parenting.
Oh, is
And,
it gonna be a mom?
and I'm like, well, no, I'm pretty retired from the like day-to-day mothering of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think about like what they eat or do their
I know.
laundry anymore.
Right. You're just there as a consultant when necessary.
Yeah, they're like they don't live here. Yeah, so it's like true.
Yeah. You're on call.
I'm on call.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted you to say a little bit about your podcast, your new podcast, like
Yeah.
your shift to it. Tell me about it.
So, is this it? Are we recording our podcast right now?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
I'm into just like starting and
I
like
know.
just going.
Let's just talk. Okay. Yeah. So I've been on your show before, and you know me, and we know each other. My past, I was a coach for parents and for teens, and I love doing that. But then I had kind of like this, I like to call it a midlife, I don't know. People call it a midlife crisis, but for me, it was more like a midlife wake up call, kind of.
I've been calling it midlife curious.
Yeah, that works too. I also call it a midlife evolution, but at the
Hmm.
time it didn't feel like an evolution because I was like at the beginning, it's the beginning where this whole like it felt like
It's a burn it down in the
yeah, it
the
was just
first
like,
part is a burn it down.
exactly. It was like not just for my direction in my business, but there was a point where I was on vacation. I was in Hawaii with my family, and it's beautiful, and I was getting ready to turn 50 and like excited about that and proud about that. But at the same time, like I had this kind of feeling like, what the fuck?
I know. I'm in it
And
because I
yes.
turned 50 in September and this
Okay.
is April, so I'm like 6 months.
Yeah. There
So,
was just a moment there where I had already got started hormone replacement therapy and like postmenopausal. So it wasn't necessarily that I was in perimenopause, but my body did not feel like my body anymore. Like
mhm,
I had gained weight. I was still working out and I was still active, but I had gained weight and I just didn't feel like good about the way I looked. I didn't feel
mhm.
like myself. And we could definitely talk about this, but I just was like, well, what's the point? Like, what's going on in this life?
What's the
I
point?
don't have anything to look forward to. Like that, I wasn't excited about the future. I'm like, my whole life I wanted to be a mom, and so I was a mom, and my kids are getting older now, and now I'm turning 50, and I'm like, so am I just gonna fade off
Oh
into?
my God, I've thought 100 times about this topic. Like literally spent hours thinking about it. So yes, I'm right there with
Yeah.
you.
So anyway, so back to the trip, I was basically just hit this low point where I was just in the shower and I was crying and I was like, why do I feel so shitty? Why do I
Hmm.
feel like shit? I have everything I ever wanted in my life. I have this business that I wanted and I grew and I feel really proud of and I actually enjoy doing. I'm married. I love my husband. I've got some great kids. I'm on a trip with my family in this beautiful place and I still feel like shit. And I was like, there's got to be something different. I'm doing something wrong here. Like there's something I'm missing, all of these things. And I could hear things people say conceptually like, oh, this is where the magic begins, or this is when you finally have time to focus on yourself. But I'm like, I don't even know what that means for me. Like, what does it
Hmm.
mean focus on myself?
I have like 100 thoughts. I just like want to hear you talk, and I'm like, uh-huh, yeah.
We do. Yeah. So it was like that moment in the shower, and I was just like, this ain't it. I don't know. And so I'm the type of person who just I cannot sit in that discomfort for long before I have had enough and I need to take action. And so for me, the action for me, what that looked like was to start getting really like dialed in on my nutrition.
Mhm.
And like that's triggering for me because I grew up in diet culture and I don't even like talking about like counting calories. Like But I knew that what I was doing, everything that I had always done was no longer working. So I'm like, okay, obviously my body is needing something different now. I've always exercised, but I got a Peloton and I started, just being a little bit more intentional with the way I was eating. So that was like step number one. Like, I'm going to take charge of this part,
Yeah.
this area of dissatisfaction. I'm going to take charge of that and do something.
Mhm.
And so that kind of started to, it didn't work, quote unquote, meaning like I wasn't like I was started losing weight immediately. Like I didn't. It was a whole month and I was like, I'm still not losing weight, but I'm not quitting. And I just adjusted a few things. Eventually the weight started to come off, but it wasn't just about the weight. It was like the past 5 years, we've all been through this collective trauma
Yep.
upon trauma upon trauma. That on top of the fact that I moved from my home that I lived in for 35 years to another state where I knew no one. And also, lo and behold, here comes a pandemic where I can't even make friends. So it was very isolating. I'd been through this big life transformation. My body was holding on to a lot of it, a lot of the trauma.
Hmm.
So I got a therapist and I started going to therapy again. I'd done it before, but I was like, there's something nagging and I don't know what it is. So I enlisted help, I enlisted support, I did what I could do to change things. And I did like, I kind of did what I like to call like going in the chrysalis,
Yep.
right? Like I'm going to do some work here. And so that was
You
kind
know
of,
what's funny about the chrysalis thing, real quick, is that I did my training with Martha Beck, and she has a lot of information about the change cycle. And what's fascinating about the chrysalis is that when a caterpillar goes into the chrysalis and builds it,
uh-huh.
it actually turns into goop.
Yeah,
It doesn't just become a
right.
butterfly. It doesn't change form. It actually dissolves completely and then
Yeah.
rebuilds itself. And
Yes.
we often think of it just like this transformation that I'm going to go and like turn my fat little caterpillar self and like the wings just sprout out. But no, you go into this like primordial goop situation where all the cells are there and it gets rebuilt.
Yeah.
And that's meaning dissolving, like breaking it, stuff down so that it is quiet. It is, you kind of need to have a chrysalis so no one can see you turn into
Yeah.
goop.
Exactly. Doing all that internal work. And it's not like the things that I'm currently building are being built on my old identity, like the old,
Correct. It's
right?
all the way broken down to build a new identity. Yes, and I think we do this as women in a variety of periods of our lives. Like it
Yeah.
happens when you become a mother, it could happen if you become a partner or wife, change career. Like there's different periods of time. If your parent dies or something like that, you lose a piece of your identity or you're building a new identity. And it's very, a little messy.
Oh, yeah. So that is, a part of the work. I did a lot of different types of things in the internal work. And what's so funny is when I look back, I can see clearly what was going on. But when I was in it, it felt chaotic. It was like uncomfortable, talking about
Mhm.
things that I never liked to even address. Like I'm actually going to talk about these things in a therapeutic setting and like look at it
Yeah.
and work on starting to heal these things. Stories I've been telling myself since I was a kid, right? Like that still echo in my life today, right?
Hmm.
So that whole thing happened. And then to go back to my podcast transition, after all of that, I started to really actually feel better in my life. Like it was like the clouds started to lift and I started to like feel optimistic for the first time in years. It'd
Mm.
been a couple of years where I just was kind of like, what's the point? Like, what's there to do? I don't know. I actually started to feel like myself again. Like, oh, there she is.
Mm.
Huh? And then be excited about
Hmm.
and like not feel so heavy all of the time.
So great,
So
metaphorically and physically.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
And to go back to the business, with all that I went through and all that I like the self-reflection, it's kind of hard to describe without sounding too woo-woo, but I'm gonna sound woo-woo
Who
anyway.
cares?
It's like the messages were very clear to me.
Hmm.
What I'm here for is beyond what I am doing. What I am here for, what I have to share, I should say, is way beyond what I am sharing. For a while, I had felt kind of constrained in what I would talk about
Hmm.
because I would be like, well, this doesn't really have to do with parenting a teenager, you know? So I
This
would
is
hope,
exactly why I have this new format of Calm Mama
yeah,
Confessions,
exactly.
because I have so much to offer and so much other things I think about besides parenting, which I'm still 100. How people listening are like, is she gonna quit? Nope, not me. I'm in it to continue my mission of healing the next generation in advance. It's very clear to me. I'm on it. But that, yeah, the other pieces of the healing journey and interests and this life stage that I'm in that's not focused on my children as much. And yeah, it's fascinating to me. And I'm like, I'm right there with you. I just kind of
Yeah,
created, added, just added another segment of
right.
my podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
the purpose of the things that I talk about now on my podcast directly can relate to parenting in
For
so many
sure.
ways. But for me, it felt more expansive to be speaking to women in midlife
Yeah.
who also happen to maybe have teenagers.
Hmm.
So it still is going to help them be a good mom and help them raise a teenager, but that's not all I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's so freeing and like
Yes.
expansive. Yeah.
So go kind of back to the woo. It was like it was a internal knowing, but also like there was a moment when I was on the Peloton, and this is oftentimes I'll get like thought downloads, I guess you could say, just downloads in general, where like inspiration is hitting me so fast. And like
Hmm.
I have to grab my phone and like start taking notes because I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, I've heard it described as trying to catch a tiger by the tail and pull it back. Like when you have a lot of inspiration at one time, sometimes that poetry can be that way where you're like, I only know the back, the last, I can't remember all of it, but let me try to pull it
Right.
from the tail back into some sort of harnessed way. So I
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And so that's where the subtle shifts method came through to me. And I'm like, that's exactly what I went through this year. And then when I look back on my life, I'm like, I've been through those three phases many times,
Yeah.
many different situations. And it was just very clear to me, like, oh, these are the three phases, or this is what happens. And it's very easy to understand now on the other side that that's what was going on.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, and
I
then
was
you
like,
know
the
really
step.
clearly what you might want to walk someone through or what they might need to be walking themselves through and guiding that. Hmm.
Yeah, so all of that kind of came through and it was scary as heck to just be like,
Hmm.
I'm going to change the name of my podcast. That was hard,
Yeah.
right? Because I had built that. I think it was maybe 150 plus episodes in,
Mhm.
3 years in. I'm like, well, gosh, am I just like throwing it all in the trash? But then I thought, you know what? All of those 150 episodes are still there. And
Yep.
it's still me, and it's still my advice and my thoughts and support. But now I'm also talking about these other things. And it just felt so right that even though it was scary, it was like, well, I don't really have a choice because this is what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. We started our podcast at a similar time. And sometimes I do think about like, I still have a lot of content to teach, but then I'm like, do I really have another like 160 hours of like content? Is it necessary when there's all of it is sitting there already as this beautiful resource? I'm like, yeah, if you're new to the podcast, just start from the beginning.
Exactly.
It's there, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So if
It's
anyone
actually
wants,
really
yeah, your
fun.
parenting support or there's a backlog. Yeah.
And I still coach people on parenting. Like
Of
I still
course.
people coming to me wanting support with their teenager. I still do that.
Yeah.
It's just that's not all I'm talking about anymore.
It's so good. Yeah. Subtle shifts. That's the
Yes.
name
And
of
so
it.
like the name Subtle Shifts is the name of my business, but it's been the name of my business since I very first became an entrepreneur and applied for my business license. And that was in 2019.
Hmm.
I named it. And that name itself came to me before I even started a business. It was probably maybe 2017 where I was like, gosh, if I had a business, I would name it this because that's really how I live my life. I don't do everything all at once. I found that, you just make little changes. things that feel doable and sustainable, and you stick with it and you stick with it. And then eventually, a year down the road, things change drastically. It's 100% in line with the way I approach life. And when I was
Yeah.
like, what should I name my podcast? I'm like, well, duh.
What you've always what you've always meant to name everything that you
I
did. Yeah.
know. Exactly. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
I'm
I'm
loving.
glad you shared that. Yeah. And I think that feeling of something not quite being right, like that area of dissatisfaction, it can be an invitation to explore areas of our life where, yeah, subtle shifts, making changes. Maybe you join a club or quit this friend group or stop going to the park at that time and try something else. It doesn't have to be a massive change, but there's more available, more healing, more joy, more peace, more calm. It's like it's out there, it's available, and we're just kind of plotting along trying to figure out how to get there. But we do have to see where we're not it's not working and yeah, keep moving
I
forward.
can't even say that there was one thing or like it's this that helped me feel more optimistic in my life. I
Nope.
can't pinpoint any of it. It was all of it. And that's where, when we were talking about the chrysalis phase, I call it the cocoon phase. That's where the chaos happens. It's like, it just feels like unsettling because you are doing different things and you're talking about things, or it's uncomfortable and you're working behind the scenes, but nothing really is changing. It feels unsettled,
Yep.
but it's because there's a transformation happening, and transformation
Yeah.
isn't something that just feels so soft and lovely. Like, it takes time.
Yeah, no, the butterfly gets reformed inside and no one can see it. It's like it is its beautiful self fully formed inside before it comes out. It's not out yet, right? So it's like the caterpillar gets totally gooped, then rebuilt, and no one can see it. And then what's interesting about a butterfly is that if you try to help it out of the cocoon, if you rip the cocoon or open up the chrysalis at all, the wings aren't strong enough to then fly. It has to struggle to come out, and that can also be uncomfortable where you're like, guess what? I have a new podcast name, or
Right.
I'm going to quit my job, or I want to move, or whatever. I'm getting a divorce. Like, who knows? And that kind of shift, that's the part that's really where everyone sees the internal work on the outside and you start to make those changes. And that is much harder than we think it will be and lots of obstacles. And that's where getting support's so good.
Well, and that's why when you're feeling dissatisfied with your life, that's where it can feel so, I don't know, easy, I guess, or I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to distract it. I'm going to, go on my phone and look at TikTok because I don't want to think about the fact that I feel this way, or I'm going to drink, or I'm going to go online shopping, or plan another vacation that I can't afford. Like, I'm going to avoid this because I don't like thinking about it because I don't have a solution for it. You can do that. That dissatisfaction is there for a reason. It's there as a message, and you can decide whether you want to do something about it. And really, one of the hardest parts is just saying, you know what? I'm going to do something.
It's time to dive in. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. But once you do, it's like soon enough, you'll be turning around and you'll feel like, gosh, I actually feel better. Like, hey, something's working here.
Yeah, I know. It does get better. I did confessions on the first time I dipped into a healing journey at age 19. And what I was doing was like drinking, doing drugs, having sex, just really being out of bounds in those areas. And I kind of it wasn't working for me. And I was like, I've got to make a change. And that was the beginning of that first kind of cocoon moment for me. And I remember I used to go get high with everybody on the quad or whatever at college.
Mhm.
And this was my sophomore year. And then my friends were like, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" And I was like, I have a meeting with some friends. I gotta go to a meeting. I didn't know what to say. I knew I didn't want to go with them,
Okay.
but I didn't know where I was going.
Okay.
Like I
You
just
just weren't
lied.
going there.
I was like, I just lied. I just was like, I don't know. I have plans. I have to go do something. And I like remember walking around the campus, just kind of like lost and not sure where to go. And there was this sign that was like, need someone to have lunch with. And then like, I was like, yeah. And
Actually, I do.
I walked into this room. There were all these nice people. It turned out it was a cult, which thankfully it got rescued from.
Oh, my God.
It was like, but anyway, there was something available, but I
Yes,
didn't know it. And
yes,
then, slowly but surely I made new friends. I moved home. I did a bunch of changes, and it was just all awful and uncomfortable and identity crushing and all of those things. And then but even though like that day when I met the cult people, I still felt better because I wasn't just getting stoned
yeah,
in the quad as I'd done every day and feeling like shit and not feeling connected to anybody and lost and insecure and all those things. I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to feel differently. I'm just going to find something else. And that's what you make one small shift, subtle shift.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. It just takes, like you said, doing something different
Mm-hmm.
and evaluating as you go.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first life crisis at 25.
Mm-hmm.
I called it a quarter life crisis,
Yeah.
where
Cute.
I had, gone to school, got my degree, went into the corporate world. I was in human resources, making a pretty good salary. Like I had checked all the boxes and I hated what I was doing. I was like, I went through three different jobs in like a year and a half. And I kept thinking, well, this isn't the right job. I just need another job. If I get a different job, then I'll like what I'm doing. And of course not. And I didn't like any of it. And so I just quit and I went backpacking in Europe.
Yeah.
I have to, this is not what I want to do. And so that was kind of one of my other transformational experiences. And I came back and I went back to school to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not,
Sometimes we have to drop an identity but we don't know what the new identity is going to be. And I mean, backpacking across Europe sounds very lovely and idyllic and all of those things, but you're taking your sad, lost self with you. And you look at Eat, Pray, Love or Wild, right? You look at these stories, we read them, and we make them so inspirational and they're so courageous. And but what we are always missing when we glorify those stories is the pain that drove the decision, the actual discomfort, and then the journey through to something else, that it's always uncomfortable,
yes. And it was,
good and uncomfortable.
and I can talk about, I can put on my rose-colored glasses and be like, oh, I was in Europe and I had this moment when I looked around and realized that not everyone lives the way that I've been raised to believe is a successful way of living. I don't have to live like, yes, I had those moments of realization, but in truth, I came back and I got another HR job
Yeah.
because I didn't know what else to do. But
Hmm.
it was when I had that job that I made the decision to go back to school. So it wasn't the trip that changed everything for me, but it was part of it.
Yeah, and it was just saying I need to find a different way. I don't know what that's going to look like yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think to go back to the topic of being in midlife and feeling
Hmm.
dissatisfied, it has to do with the same type of thing that I was dealing with at 25. I was dealing with it again at 50, and that is this is society's version of what it means to have made it in the world and what success means and what it means to be a woman and all of these like identities that have been imposed upon us. And some of them are not in alignment with what is our top values.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so we're living someone else's dream in
Hmm.
some way.
Or lack of concept. This is the thing that I've been thinking a lot about, is that I actually don't have a concept of post child rearing, pre grandmothering, right? I don't even have a mind map or a model of this period of time. And I've been wondering why that is. And looking around at the variety of models in the world of people who have done it before me. And really, I think a lot of times women switch from caregiving to children to caregiving to their elderly parents.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing that we can do as a society. But a lot of times the elderly parent comes right as the your youngest is graduating, or kind of, you might have a couple, maybe a year or two, but it's like it becomes a very important thing. Then you're grieving, and then you're in this whole process with your elderly parent, and then you kind of get through that possibly, and then you become a grandparent. Like, I think women are just, most of my models are around caregiving in many ways, and I don't have that. My mom is gone. I don't have it. I did the elderly parent thing when I had a 10-year-old and walked through Alzheimer's when the kids were younger, which was absolutely challenging to have young kids who still need babysitters while also driving an elderly person to the doctor. But now I'm like pretty free, and my kids are pretty good, and I'm like, "Ooh, what's it going to look like?" It's a lot of open ended excitement, but then also a little bit overwhelming.
It definitely is because for so long we haven't had that freedom. And so it can feel unsettling, like something must be wrong if I have so much time, or I'm not used to having this time and I don't know what to do with it.
I don't know how to fill it. Yep.
Yeah. And if I'm
Yeah.
not caring for someone because that's my job, what value do I have to give then?
Yeah. Or what is even the purpose of my day? You
Right.
know?
That's why so many people in midlife, women in midlife get dogs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Gotta
Well,
care
and
for
that's
something.
lovely. It's great grounding and gives you somebody to care for and take care of and all of those things. Yeah, I also think it's frustrating in this age because we're also pretty tired, like just physiological. There's so many changes that happen that are normal and part of aging and part of being menopausal or post, peri or post or whatever. And also kind of maybe slowing down and giving fewer fucks about some stuff. So what used to matter a lot doesn't matter as much, even if it's not caregiving. Maybe it's just style or your home, like you've already decorated your home, or there's a lot of check boxes you've done along the way, and then you have peace around those areas, or if you work through those areas. And so it's like, I'm not motivated and I'm pretty tired.
Yeah.
So it can be kind of easy to feel like a bump on the log.
Yeah.
And
And I'm just gonna lounge around on the couch and watch Netflix because
yeah,
I don't have the
because I
energy.
can, and I don't really, I've done a lot already today, and like, I don't know, I don't have to go run around from 3 to 7 and pick up people.
Mhm.
And I've worked my business in such a way that I was available every afternoon for teenagers. And now I'm very available to myself,
Right.
but I'm also a little tired.
Yeah.
And I've worked out and I've walked and done my work, and it's not time to make dinner yet. And I get a little bit like, huh, what do
So
I
what am I
do?
doing? What do I
Yeah.
do? I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting stage. It's
It
very
is.
satisfying. It can be very satisfying, but it can also feel like you're very lost.
Yeah. To go back to when you conceptualize motherhood and being a woman and all of that, I think about when I was a child, I would think about what I want to be when I grow up. I wanted to be a mom, but
Hmm.
in no version of that vision of being a mom was it when my kids are older and have moved out.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
we
always
didn't create
one.
any sort of map. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a home. I wanted to have a marriage. I wanted to have a career. Eventually, I wanted to have a career. And yeah, well, after that, like, I don't know, we just have this like idea of retire. You just keep working and then retire or something, and
Right.
that's fine. But there's like a chunk of decade there in the
Space.
middle.
There's space between retirement and your kids move out.
Yeah, we hope. You're right. Yeah, it depends on how you
Yeah.
time it all, but yeah, for
It's
us, that's
beginning.
true. Uh-huh.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I think that, vacationing or exploring or build, like, one of my goals this year was to make new friends.
yeah.
And that has been pretty interesting. I just decided, like, I have this whole parking juju where I just create parking spots for myself. Whenever I go anywhere, I just say, "Oh, I can't wait to find my parking spot."
Yeah.
Like, I get excited. And I have parking juju, and my friends all know, and they ask me to turn it on and stuff like that. My family thinks it's bullshit, but they also always ask me to turn it on. So I'm like, is it bullshit or what? So it's like, I'm just going to use parking juju for friend juju. I'm just going to assume my new friends are out there and I can't wait to meet them.
Yeah.
And I have made two new friends.
Yay.
Yeah. And it's been very fun and
That is so
interesting. And so, yeah, just kind of exploring like what else is out there. And
cool.
yeah.
That kind of brings me to something, a realization that's similar.
Hmm.
That is, I have close relationships with my family. And when I lived in San Diego, my kids were young. I had a lot of really close mom friends. And when I moved, I had my family. And like I said,
Hmm.
we didn't have a lot of ability to connect with people in person. And so the habit, I guess, a lot of us probably got into was just being home.
Hmm.
Even if we have friends, it's just comfortable to be home because we got used to being home. And it takes effort to
Yeah, it
have
does. To
friends.
make a coffee date, to
Mhm.
meet for lunch, to reorganize your day. Yeah, and then it's work because they're new people and you don't necessarily know them and you're not
Mhm.
sure. It's not like slipping on a really comfortable sweater. I mean, I have an amazing group of friends and that we've been raising our babies together, new a group I know before I had babies and still friends with them. And I just, when I'm with them, it's like, warm saucer of milk. Yep. It's like
Yeah,
so comforting and so easy. And they don't all live near me. And so I was like, I want to make friends that live near me so that I
right.
can meet up for coffee. Yeah. It's been interesting. Have really liked it.
Dating. It's like dating.
It is like dating.
Like you go meet for coffee and you kind of feel each other out. Like, are you my kind of person? Do we
Mhm.
be into the
Yeah.
same kind of
Where'd
stuff?
you grow up?
Right. And tell me a little bit about your
Are
life.
you an only child? Like,
Right.
are your parents still living? Like, that's
It's totally midlife women dating. I mean, it's friendship dating. That's what we can call it.
Yeah, it is friendship dating and it's really amazing and also weird and hard and fun and
It
dumb
is.
and all of it. It's everything about dating, I guess. Yeah.
But again, it comes down to your willingness to be uncomfortable. Like it's uncomfortable to go to these things where you might be meeting people. Like I've gone to networking events, I've gone to like meetups with, crafting type stuff where
Yeah.
you don't know anyone. And then
Yeah.
you show up and you're like, gosh, I hope somebody likes me. It's
I
uncomfortable.
definitely think I hope I like someone.
I hope I like someone. I hope that I don't hate everyone.
I hope there's one cool person that I can
Just
chat
one.
with.
Just one,
Mhm.
but it requires your willingness to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think you're really speaking to that post-pandemic quarantine time. Like it is still a habit, especially for midlifers because like my kids were 8th and ninth grade when the pandemic started. And by the time the pandemic ended, my kids were driving. Like the transition out of parenting was so like a sledgehammer, just kind of came down on I was no longer going to the school functions and this and that and like connected to the school community. They both were just starting at high school and I never really got connected into the high school mom vibe. There was a pandemic and then I had my mom die and my sister die and I was building this business and I just was like in my world. And my boys were fine. They weren't all that interested in high school either. So I was like, just go get it done. And over those years, I became more and more disconnected from my own community. And then I got like looked around and I'm like, well, I've got like one friend that lives near me
Yeah,
or a couple and then my book club who I love. And I was just like, this is not working for me. I want to have more connection in real life.
yeah.
Because you and I
That's
are
been,
friends, but we live like it's different states. And so
yeah,
we
almost a
can't be
thousand
everyday
miles away.
friends. Hmm.
I know. And that's been my goal this year is to meet up with people in person and to also create opportunities for
Yeah.
people to meet up in person. I'm going to start hosting a women's circle at the yoga studio nearby, and I'm participating in a yoga festival where being an instructor. I'm just putting myself in places where I can meet people who wanting to meet people as well.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful to see it as a society that more and more people are coming out of that kind of like phase. And like when you have younger kids, you are going out in the world, you're meeting friends at the pickup, school pickup and at your kids' you need to know who they're hanging out with so you connect with the parents, and you're at the soccer and the game afterwards and the dance recital and all the
Right.
things that they're doing. And it's good. It's actually really healthy to be in a community. And it can be really easy as we get into midlife to let some of that go. And we have to work harder. It's easy if you have kids in many ways to meet new people. And it's,
Especially for people like you and I who work at home.
yes, yeah, I'm just in my own little world here with my husband. So, yeah,
Right. And for me, I just recently started being more intentional about embodied living. So in person, in my life and with people as much as possible. And I'm going places, I'm doing things, I'm doing my best to not live in isolation, especially for me because I live rurally. Like I'm close to the city, but I'm very far removed. Like you can't see a house from my house. So it does take a significant amount of effort and intention to put myself where people are
mhm.
on purpose.
Yeah. I guess not everybody needs to do that, right? So someone's listening and they're like, I'm full. I've got enough going on. I'm good. I don't really want any more friends. Like, fine. It's when you start to feel the loneliness or whatever that dissatisfaction is, when you're on vacation with your family and you're crying in the shower, that is the indication to you that maybe things aren't as great as you thought they were. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. I really do think of dissatisfaction as an invitation, not a criticism. It's just
Mhm.
like, huh, this is interesting. Like, that's why I'm calling it this midlife curious, because I just find that I'm very curious about my areas of dissatisfaction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just always being willing to look at how you're living your life and what you're willing to adjust or get curious around changing to see if it impacts how you're feeling. When I started doing this embodied living thing, I noticed that I was finding more joy in everyday things
Yeah.
like
Just like
making a
preparing a
tree.
meal or,
Yeah,
yeah.
just everyday things like even chores, like you said, folding laundry, just enjoying the quality of life in the moment versus when we were younger moms, it's go, 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 do, do, do. There's not a moment to pause it's not as easy to do that. But now we have the space to do it, but it takes intention to do it.
Yeah, it can be a habit of rushing and a habit of disconnection. And I think even as, most of the people listen to my podcast have younger kids, and it's like you don't have to rush actually. Like you can practice slowing down as well and being a little more present. It might, of course, you have got 3 kids and you got to get everybody's into bed pajamas and get them with their teeth brushed and all the things and get everyone out the door in the morning. It's hard. If we slow down just a little bit and kind of connect to our bodies and connect to what we're doing, our kids will be more regulated. They will be more compliant. You can get more ease in your life by just being a little slower, a little more present. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a lifelong practice.
It for sure is. It's not something, it's subtle. It's subtle shifts.
Subtle shift.
Okay. Well, thank you. I love this conversation.
It's so good and it's important. I'm really like, when you invited me on, I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to come and talk about this because there are so many women who are feeling this way in isolation and
Yeah.
maybe thinking I've done something wrong or I'm missing something. But there are so many of us that feel this way. And when we have conversations in the open about it, it normalizes the experience.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
So
uh,
good. No one's talking about it. Yep.
keep the conversation going for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye. Thank you for joining me. If you're ready to take the next step in transforming your life, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you today, I'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts, tag me on social media, or leave a review to help others find the podcast. Remember, the smallest shifts can create the biggest transformations. I look forward to hearing from you.